This is another video that shows how the leftists, some of the leftists in Iran, betrayed the Iranian people by sacrificing them to the Islamists to get their leftist dreams come true. And they knew, and this is a woman that recognizes her mistake years after what she had done.
Oh.
Right? So I wanted to show you this.
Oh my God.
Again, I don't want to, again, people, I don't want to generalize.
Like, among your parents' generation, like, live like this.
Yes. So again, so for people who don't understand what we're talking about, when the 1979 Islamic Revolution happened, that was a planned revolution. It was a conspiracy by leftists against the monarchists using the Islamists to be able to bring down the bourgeoisie and make it a people's uprising in a country where there wasn't a big enough problem that required a revolution. There was economic progress. There was more education. Like education was increasing, industry was growing, the economy was growing, women's rights was increasing. Everything was getting better.
There was authoritarianism, but economically things were doing fantastic.
Authoritarianism that was constantly being reduced every year.
Yes.
We had a king who was trying to move things towards everything becoming more democratic. So, he was trying to move everything in that direction. He did believe in human rights. He did believe in democracy. He did believe in people's choices, and he was moving in that direction. Right?
I saw a very interesting talk by an Iranian scholar who said that if the foreign policies of the Shah and the government relations had remained the same and they had continued instead of the break off of the revolution, that Iran would be comparable to South Korea right now.
Right. Yes. And more, actually, and a lot more based on some analysis that I've seen. But that's another topic. The thing is that leftists at that time, many leftists at that time, they had a revolution fever, right? Because of the Marxist-Leninist theories that they read. Everything was about revolution, and they lived in an era of revolutions around the world being so popular, right? There was a lot of uprisings and revolutions and bringing.
The 1970s was a wild time.
Exactly. Right? So
revolution as well.
Yes. So even though in Iran there wasn't really enough dissatisfaction to require a revolution happened because of the leftists spread the narrative, that a lot of false narrative, and they use Islam as a way to get what they want, right? So we're going to watch a video of one of these leftists who didn't believe in hijab or the Islamic laws, but pushed for it anyways, because they were fighting against Western imperialists, because they saw the Shah, the king, as a puppet of Western imperialists, and toppling the Shah was basically in that direction. Bringing an Islamic republic, it didn't matter that it was Islamic. It mattered that it was anti-imperialist, right? So she was pushing for this Islamism because everything was worth fighting against imperialism. And look, we're going to watch a video of her recognizing the mistake she made back then. So this So this is before that, when she was still believing that this is fine to push for hijab, and then years after, right? So she's saying women of our country are used to hijab. He's saying hijab wasn't ever a problem for us. So she's like, it's no issue for us to wear a hijab. All mothers and older women have hijab. But there's no problem in Iran such as hijab. So it says Isfahan 1357. So this is really close to the revolution. And if our freedom, our independence, in exchange of having hijab, I think all Iranian women are ready to have hijab. So he says if the price of I think this is before the hijab became mandatory, like really close to,
clearly,
right? Because yes, so in Iran, like the very first year of the Islamic Revolution, shortly after hijab became mandatory. But I think this is within the gap that it hasn't yet become mandatory. And she said, if this is the price, so look, she's a woman herself that doesn't wear the hijab, but she is saying that if the hijab is what we have to put on our head to get freedom and independence, and by freedom and independence, she's talking about freedom and independence from world powers, from the imperialist West, like that. So be it. So basically, she's saying, so be it. If this is the only mean to get free from imperialism. And be able to crash the Shah's regime. And so she's talking, and the translation is not accurate here because I think they got rid of the Shah already here. She's talking about the institutions of the Shah's regime that are left, like if that's what we need to do, and achieve independence and freedom. If it's the price, we'll pay it.
Oh,
but she's saying the hijab is not a big deal. We could wear the hijab if this is the price we have to pay. So now
that's just really getting to me right now, because it's like the lack of I mean, maybe to be fair, maybe she didn't realize that it would be mandatory, right? But
no, I think that was the context of the
interview,
discussion, that it was becoming mandatory, making it
because
mandatory. I think she was welcome
to have it be mandatory. A prerequisite is a state authority powerful enough to infringe upon your every private aspect of your life. The price is fascism.
Well, that's what she. Okay, wait. Now we're 6 years. So now we're gonna hear a recording from her. That was 6 years before. So that was 1979. Now we're gonna hear something from her 6 years after. Okay, so now let's see what she has to say. So she's saying 1979, there was the first protest against Khomeini's regime. So a lot of people don't know this. The first mass protest against Khomeini's regime was all women that came out, because 100,000 women came out in a mass protest because they were making hijab mandatory.
I'm going to
show you.
Stunning.
Yes. Let me show you this. This is what she's referring to. 100,000.
I think it happened on Women's Day. I might be misremembering.
Yes. No, it's right. It was the International Women's Day, that women in Iran, right in the very year that the revolution was successful, in the very year this many people showed up to protest. This is 1979, yes. Right? This is not recent. This is like when the Islamic Republic came into power, and these are the women back then, more than 40 years ago. These are the women. 100,000 women came into the streets protesting against the mandatory hijab. And look, they're all women. Like, there are few men. They're like vast majority of them are women. I mean, this is kind of a betrayal. I mean, I don't want to be anti-men. I don't want to sound like I'm being anti-men, but where are the men? Okay, where are the men? Like, why are they just women? Why are they not being supported? These women came out. That was a dangerous time for you to come out like this.
Oh, no kidding.
These are all the women that came. Yeah, these are the women that came against the Islamic.
This is one of my favorite photos. No, there's another photo of her pointing her finger right in his face.
Yes,
in that
this one.
There we go. This is an iconic photo.
So let's go back to Homa. Okay, let's see what she says. Hold on, 6 years after. So she says 1979, there was the first protest against Khomeini's regime, and was really threatening them. The man who is interviewing her is saying when compulsory hijab was announced. Yes, women. So yes, women were organized. Even the ones with hijab, even the ones with chador, they came out. I went to, so she's now talking about her betrayal back then, right? She says, I went to the university gym. and told them to stop the protest. So she was trying
Wow.
to convince the woman to stop the protest.
این تظاهرات شما علیه این نظام
So she told the woman that this protest of yours is like the Chilean coup,
Oh my god.
که اینجوری این شیلی کودتای شیلی میخوایم براه
where the bourgeoisie woman protested. So she's comparing the women that came out for the rights to wear whatever they want for their freedom. So she said, you are like the women in Chile who are the women who are protesting, the bourgeoisie women that were protesting. So she had such a communist mindset.
Well, she's accusing them of being counter revolutionaries, essentially.
Exactly. You got it.
زنان بورژوازی هم ریختن به تظاهرات
So she told them you shouldn't protest.
نباید بکنید اینا الان وقت تظاهرات
And I told them it's not right now. It's not the time for protest.
الان وقت یعنی چی یعنی
It's like what does that mean? Means
وحدت کلمه که خمینی میگه
so she was referring to a united voice because Khomeini was asking for a united voice and she was like saying we need to have a united voice just like Khomeini said.
چه فرقه
That was
به تظاهرات زنان من برهم زدن چه فرقه به تظاهرات زنان من برهم زدن
Oh, she said I tried to, and it was me whom finished females protest. So she stopped a lot of women from protesting. Look at you see this picture? These are Chadori women with hijab that showed up in the protest to protest against mandatory hijab. So even some religious people were showing up back then to protest against mandatory hijab.
برهم زدن تظاهرات زنان برای اینکه گروه‌های چهارم
So I was a reason for it. She's saying she was successful in stopping some protests because So why? No, let's see what she said.
یعنی عامل برهم زدن تظاهرات زنان برای اینکه
because left parties were listening to me.
گروه‌های چهارم تحت تاثیرم بودن
So she's saying she was very influential. There was a lot of leftist women who were listening to her as an influential person, and she was able to stop a lot of them from protesting. So she said there was a lot of sad people.
برای اینکه گروه‌های چهارم تحت تاثیرم بودن برهم زدن با افسرده همه آمد.
So she's saying when she managed to stop some of the protests, there were a lot of them who were sad. And they were questioning me why I'm doing this. Like it's like I think a lot of women were feeling a sense of betrayal. So like they were asking him, why are you doing this? It's like this is not going to get good. This is like things are not going to go well. Say like there were women that were telling Homa Nategh, so her name is like Nategh. So like there were a lot of people coming to me and they were saying, Miss Nategh, why are you doing this? This oppression is only going to get worse. Like they're saying that these people who are oppressing us, who are telling us what to wear, this is only going to get worse.
Because if they can do that, what more can they do? If they can do that,
wait, you're getting ahead. You're getting. Yeah, that's okay. But it's interesting that you're thinking that because look at what's coming. Look at what's coming. So. She said, I convinced them because the Communist Party told so. Like she was telling them that they're wrong. Telling them it's not the right time, although me myself didn't believe so. So look at this. This is I betrayed Iranian women. I was an important part of it. They were moving their veils on top of their heads, hoping that somebody helps them. And nobody came. Nobody helped them. None of the parties went to join them. Not only did they not go there, so on the contrary, they published on the Work and Women Journal. So the Work and Women Journal is obviously a feminist communist journal. Oh, they're putting like they're labeling them as like pro-Bakhtiyar people. Like they're trying to like dismiss them as somebody that they're anti-revolutionaries. They're liberals. Like even back then, they were like commies calling other people liberals. I'm like,
wait, what was the word for liberanum?
Liberal. They are liberals.
No, but what's the word in Farsi?
No, it's liberal, but they say liberal and means they are.
Yeah, plural. Yeah,
and is like are. Yeah.
بختیار بودن که رفتن اینا ضد انقلابی ان اینا لیبرالن حجاب در این جامعه مطرح نیست
Like they were saying hijab is not an issue in this country, in this society.
مهم نیست که منم
It's like it doesn't matter, it's not important. Like they were accusing him of making a big deal out of nothing. And like and she's saying I was with them, like I agreed with them.
که آقا مهم نیست پتو سرمون میکنه اصلا
She was saying it doesn't matter. We could even put bed covers on our head if it comes down to it.
Right? اصلا بدون اینکه فکر کنم که
Okay, and now I think the translation here is not good, but she's like, I was saying all this without thinking to myself, without understanding this point.
اون کسی که به من میگه چگونه
The one who is telling me what to wear
بپوش همان خواهد بود که من میگه چگونه
will be the same person that will tell me what to think or how to think. She's like saying, I betrayed Iranian women. I said this is not a big deal. We will not only we could wear the hijab if they tell us to put like a bed cover on our head, well, we'll put that. But I didn't understand that when they tell you what to wear, then they can tell you what to think. Again, look at this last sentence. It's such a
که آقا مهم نیست پتو سرمون میکنه اصلا خراب بشه آزاد اصلا بدون اینکه فکر کنم که اون کسی که به من میگه چگونه
the one that is telling me what to wear
همان خواهد بود
will be the one that will tell me how to think.
I mean, I basically like anticipated what she was going to say, right?
Yes,
but
you did.
Yeah, because I mean, I think about this dynamic a lot, right? I mean, I gave a speech about it recently, and it reminds me. Her quote is back in the mid 80s. Her quote is so similar to what Yasmin Mohammed says now, where she talks about her own experience of being forced to wear niqab. Where she's like, if I can't decide what's going to go on my head, basically, how can I have any control over what's in my mind? Like this idea of liberation and autonomy in our own presentation as in some ways a prerequisite to our own ability to think critically.
Right.
It's powerful.
Yeah. And a lot of people who don't understand how important freedom is, they are selective, because when your freedom is being violated and if it's limited, then they look how limited that issue is, and they think, well, it's not that big of a deal, right? Because you think if this is a condition for a bigger purpose, for a bigger mission that we're having, then yeah, freedom is important, but this is a very limited violation of our freedom, and it's worth us giving that away for this bigger, more important cause.
The ends justify the means.
Yes, but I mean, even from a consequentialist perspective, I'm not trying to go against this narrative that the ends justify the means, because I'm a consequentialist. I just think that they're not thinking long term, where they're thinking, because it's not going to remain that limited. Because when you give authority to a power, to a regime, to reduce your freedoms in places where they have no right, or in places where they're not justified to do so, then it's not a slippery slope fallacy to suggest that you have given them the keys and the power to do that everywhere else. And the reason why that's not a slippery slope fallacy is because we have constantly see that happening. When you put the government in a position that it can even tell you what to wear, you have given it the authority to tell you many other things. That's why in liberal countries, if any freedom that needs to be limited, it has to make sense. The burden of proof is on the shoulders of the government to justify exactly why that freedom needs to be limited and why that will improve society. You can, and if yeah.
So what about someone who raises the contention around masking mandates? Being told they have to wear.
Yeah, again, if the government can justify the harm that is being reduced because of it, the burden of proof is on the government. And we have to have a very high standard for what we accept, and it has to be sold to us. It cannot be forced to us. It has to be sold to us, right? And I think there's many places where we accept that. We accept red lights, stopping behind red lights. We accept forcing people to wear seatbelts in cars, right? But if the standards are reduced, if we just accept it, because even if it doesn't make sense, just because they're making a gain somewhere else, then that will become a regime that will not require showing cost reduction for that reduction of freedom, and that will open the door for fascism. And the reason why that's not a slippery slope is because we constantly see that happen again and again and again when people do not defend their freedoms as strongly as they should.
It's a tale as old as time.
Yeah.